Good evening, hello. Oh boy. Um, so yesterday was a bit of a hassle, and at the end of it, I said that I was gonna need to, was gonna have to think on things, and I still do because I tried for a bit today. I didn't have much time, but much time that I didn't squander, if I'm gonna be honest. Um, yeah, I haven't had time to really think things through yet. Um, but we're gonna, or I'm gonna try to do something anyway, even though I haven't thought things through. What I'm going to try to work on is the events part of things, because we haven't done that yet either. And I'm gonna leave the layout stuff for later. Hopefully I can figure that out at some point. Okay, so the events part we have not yet done. We've done the focus stuff, but that's not actual event handling, that's just deciding which element currently has focus. And so we're gonna need to go about this in two different ways for events. So there's two types of events in my view, or at least two types of relevant events for a UI toolkit. The first event type is a pointer event, meaning something that comes from a mouse or from some other kind of pointer device, like a touchscreen or what have you. Specifically, a pointer event has a position, and that position designates what it is interacting with, meaning that the actual focus is not that important for pointer events. And in fact, we cannot use the focus tree for pointer event handling at all, because it might not reflect the same structure, and also, more importantly, the focus tree does not have any information about sizing and positioning, which you kind of need to know about in order to know where to send something that has coordinates. And so pointer events have to go through the layout tree. Any other kind of event that doesn't have a position is going to go through the focus tree, though. And more specifically, the way things are going to happen is that while in the layout tree, pointer events travel from the root upwards to the most specific element that still matches. For the focus tree, it's going to go in the opposite way, where it immediately gets delivered to the currently focused element, and then if that declines handling it, it travels upwards along the focus tree until it reaches the root. Okay. So before we can get to actually doing that, we're gonna need a new struct to represent a point. And we're gonna do that. This is gonna be pretty much copy pasta from the extent stuff. Oh, right. go, and we need a contains test as well. I think this is correct. I'm not entirely sure. Let me think about it again. Yeah, I think that's correct. Okay, so now we can do contains test for points. That's good. What should I call a non-pointer event? Maybe direct event? Or...
Focused event.
No, that's not quite right either. Because while it does get sent to the focused element first, it doesn't mean it has to be for the focused element. It's just a way of handling that. Maybe a free event or something. Or unbound event. A pointless event. Ha ha ha. Now, start handling things. The fuck, this makes no sense. Paid. This is also dumb. Now, how do we want to designate that we didn't care about the event? That is an important question. I suppose you would just have a default method that does that, and then call next method to delegate or not to consume. Seems like a good choice. That is not the right place to put that. And that's it for that part. The layout part is going to be a bit more complicated because we're going to need to do containment tests. Layout entry. Right. By default, we do nothing. That is a fine default for events, I believe. Would be more annoying if it erred in some unknown events that we introduced anew. For the layout entry, simply call handle on the component. Or do we? I guess the parent is going to need to test. So this is a question: who should test whether the event applies or not? Should the parent do that, or should the child do that itself? As in, should it happen in the handle of the current element to decide whether to check extents, or should that happen in the parent and the event never even touches the child at all? I feel like the child is an easier and cleaner solution right now, but I don't know. That's one thing I'm not quite sure about, is the question of event observation, as in observing events that don't directly apply to you. I'm not sure in which cases that is actually desired and isn't just used as a workaround. So, I don't know yet. So, that's another thing I need to think about. think you also need to include a return value that can be expected when it is handled, so that when the layout goes through its children, it can abort as early as possible and doesn't have to possibly do expensive tests for containment in things that are not necessary. Oh, it's because I used an efflect. Okay. Is the result form typically evaluated within the block or not? Let me see. So rounds do time, so I suppose the result is included in there. Okay. And that should handle the behavior for that, I believe. Okay. Let me check something real quick. The reason I'm not calling a button here is because, again, I'm considering this API for devices where you don't have a mouse specifically. So a touchscreen can have different kinds of pointer input events. For instance, if you tap with one finger or with two, that's typically different kinds of interactions. Or if you double tap, I guess. Already come before. I feel like there should also be an around restart with should probably be called something like this instead. Maybe that should just be a generally around method. Yeah, probably should. I'm thinking, because it might be more useful. I think when you want to decline an event, would it be useful to be able to observe that somewhere within the hierarchy? Because then declining it should signal a condition which is then translated into a restart invocation as late as possible. But I'm not sure if that's actually useful. Okay. there anything beyond actually just entering text? Because deleting the text and movement within the text is key event stuff. Probably. Maybe. I guess paste or something. No, that should be different. Because paste contents can be non-text. Should it be though? I really wish we had some form of a plan. It's more concrete than this. Because I really feel myself right now falling into the trap of just coding things willy-nilly without actually knowing whether it's any good or not.
Would drawing scenarios on paper help?
I don't know. I'm a bit tired, so I don't know if I'm gonna be of any use right now. I also don't have any paper nearby. My, oh, there it is. Never mind. I thought I had it downstairs, but let me grab my thing. Okay. What I'm worrying about is how to represent things like on your phone where you're using your fingers to like select pieces of text. How that would actually be handled. And whether things such as selecting a region should actually be part of the events or not. It seems like a very high level kind of thing that should maybe be represented otherwise. This is kind of a problem because I lack the knowledge of how these systems work in detail. Like, I don't know how stuff is represented on, say, Android or whatever. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, you don't know what kind of devices there will be anyways, so I think it should be left for the device.
Yeah, but what does that mean?
That text selection and details like that shouldn't be ruled to behave in an exact manner by you. So whoever uses the toolkit to make a UI for a device will rule what the user has to do for the action like text selection to happen.
That's one argument, but the other is, it's, to a point, it's not reasonable to expect someone to have to port the entire thing to a device if the sort of standard library can help you out by being generic enough to accommodate for it in almost all respects. These ones are easy to add at the very least. Stay consistent. Okay. Do we even really need mouse events? I don't think there's a platform where you both have a mouse and a touch in any meaningful capacity. Yeah, let's get rid of these actually. I was considering, because first I thought the mouse has a scroll wheel, so that should have a mouse event, but you can scroll with touch as well, so never mind that. It also just occurred to me that I need another large set of APIs to query and influence devices. So, for instance, change cursor properties and query cursor properties, change windows, read out keyboard state, change or read out the display or screens. Yeah. So far, we've only ever been looking at the passive side of things, where you're, handling events that come in from the outside and responding to user inputs, but you're also going to need to be able to resize your window or minimize automatically or full screen yourself, check for screen sizes, change the cursor, lock the cursor, unlock the cursor, stuff like that. Query the keyboard layout, query current keyboard state unrelated to the events. Yeah, so there's a lot of design work for that left in as well, though I expect that to be much easier because it'll just be figuring out what things are needed and offered by operating systems and then writing the corresponding functions for them. There's no real design challenge in that as far as I can tell at the moment. I might be wrong about that, but it seems like just more like busy work than real problem space. the layout recalculation problem and the rendering API are much harder to deal with. Oh hey, I'm getting the noise again. Cool. Thanks. Why? Why? Pulse audio, why? I don't think this will help, but... Hooray, computer. Nope, didn't help. Ah, fuck you. You piece of shit. You fucking garbage pile. Ah. On the other hand, is this really necessary? I don't think it is. It kind of goes beyond a UI toolkit and it goes into other stuff. I'm a bit torn. I can see the cursor stuff. No, can I? Yeah, I can, because you kind of need to, you know, for stuff like text editing, definitely need to be able to change the pointer, for instance. But you don't really need to care about closing and minimizing and moving and resizing windows. The only thing that really matters for that is that you know, you get the size info in to the top component. So whatever is implementing the backend on this could be what handles the translation of the events. So there doesn't need to be a resize event as far as I can tell. And there could always be, you know, a side channel for a backend to provide more information for the actual user application that makes use of the UI toolkit. So I don't think this is necessary. This is just extra stuff. Yeah. So never mind that. Except for the pointer API. I need that part at the very least. And querying the keyboard layout. Is that really important? It's kind of outside of it as well. So, yeah. Scratch that stuff. Only need a way to change the cursor. The rest is up to everything else.
It's lit on Liverno, it's lit on Liverno just for me. I've got the fireplace that burns at 100 billion degrees. It's lit on Liverno just for me. I've got these old toys, and I've got this box of memories. We'll shove them in the fire and breathe in the flaming potpourri. It's lit on Liverno just for me. But I thought playing with fire was dangerous.
Well, you're right. But up out of your chimney, way up in the sky, it's been snowing for years, and we just don't know why. Our world is getting colder. But there's no need for alarm. Just sit by your fire, burn all of your toys, and stay warm.
It's lit on Liverno, it's lit on Liverno just for me. I've got the fireplace that burns at 100 billion degrees. It's lit on Liverno just for me.
Little Inferno is a quaint little game. It's kind of fun for a while, but there's not really that much to it. I don't know. It's like available for a few bucks. Maybe get it. Like $1, $2, $3 maybe. And then play it for a couple of hours. I don't know. Yeah. I don't think there's any need for any more than this. Oh right, and one more thing that needs to be available is a copy paste API. And a drop event for when you're dropping a file into the window. No, actually, never mind. That doesn't need to be. Could be useful for handling file choosers and things like that. So I think I'll include that. No, actually, never mind. I don't think the dropping stuff is generally available as a pointer event, so it would have to be handled on the window layer, which is not part of the scope of this. So never mind about that. But copy paste definitely is. So let's make that, call that support or backend. Or maybe just finally found a reason to specialize on the UI class, which is to implement these methods. Good. So the user is going to have to, or the provider of the backend is going to have to subclass UI to provide these. Man, the noise is so bad. I can't even express it. It's really annoying and distracting. It's not the semi-pleasing kind of white noise. It's sort of a scratching, screeching noise. Oh shit, it stopped. Fucking hallelujah. Never mind, it's still there. Especially for changing the cursor, having mouse in, mouse out, or pointer in, pointer out kinds of events will be very useful. But I'm actually unsure how to handle that in a good way. Because so far all of the events are things that are entirely supplied from the backend outside of whatever we're doing in here, Whereas the mouse in, mouse out kinds of things would have to be calculated automatically by the toolkit itself. So there would have to be some kind of mechanism to do that. It would be kind of funny to build a backend for this in Qt. And by funny, I mean horrendous.
Do it.
Do it yourself. I have better things to do. Is there anything else that we need to query about the environment or set in the environment? Aside from the clipboard. Speaking of getting mauled, today I learned that cat bites are actually extremely dangerous, because if you get bit by a cat, you get really, really bad infections, and you need to take antibiotics immediately. So getting bit by a cat is really, really bad news. You get some severe infections from that. I learned because the family we got our new pet cat kitty from, one of them was pretty shaken up because she was, or not shaken up, but rather she wasn't doing too well because she was taking antibiotics, as she apparently got bit by their cat recently. So good stuff. Don't get bit by cats. Valuable life advice. It wasn't malicious or anything, so don't worry about that. Apparently, she picked the cat up and it got really scared, and yeah, just reflexively bit her in the arm. Yeah, I mean, cats get their funny face on, and then you know you gotta be careful, or they're gonna scratch you. But even if they do have their funny face, they typically don't. When they do bite, they don't bite to like pierce your skin or injure you or anything. But Obviously, in this case, it was the cat just got spooked real bad and just bit as hard as it could, and apparently it pierced pretty deep. And yeah, if you get that kind of bite in your finger, it can go down to your bone. In that case, if you're unlucky, you can lose your finger because it will get really badly infected on your bone. So yeah, don't fuck around with cats. Cats are some interesting creatures because some cats can just are fucking ferocious. They don't take shit from nobody. You can find like videos of cats fucking up bears and shit. Brown bears, just swatting them in the face. And then there's cats that are just scaredy cats and just run away immediately at any sight of anything. Nah, cats get genuinely effective. And yeah, they if a cat really likes you, you know, it's more just, you know. They can also be impatient and unlike people, sometimes they you know, they don't have any other retort but to scratch you one, so that's what they do. Because they can't talk and call you a cunt. I think that would actually be really great, you know, if cats could call you a cunt. That would be good. That paints a really good mental image. Hold on, let me show you something. I know this has nothing to do with code at all in any case, anyway, or whatever, but I don't care. I just want to show you this real quick. You know. If it would play at all, that would be great. Please play the fucking video. So, yeah, got a brown bear on your porch. It's a good day. And there goes the cat. Bam. Wanted the garbage bag. Yes, that was Todd Howard's face on the side there. It's a good video. It's called The Fall of 76, I believe. And it's a sort of semi-documentary, or it's a research video about the fiasco that was Fallout 76. Did you see that video of the cat saving a baby from getting attacked by the dog? Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. Though I gotta say, my favorite bear defense video is still the one of the Finnish dude who just screams at the bear and the bear decides to fuck off. Okay, still mulling things over. But I'm pretty sure this is about as much as is gonna be necessary. It might be useful to have hook-ins for file dialogues, because typically you want to use the operating system's file chooser. But that's that's a bit rough. I don't know about that. I'll have to think about it. I'll note it down. We could always like have a default implementation of that kind of thing provided, but I'm not sure if it would be good to have native fallbacks for that as well. Yeah, but that's going into other stuff. It's not really part of the core toolkit part. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So I think that covers it for the event stuff. As far as we can provide right now, obviously we're gonna need to deal with more events and stuff once we actually get to implementing specific components. Like labels and buttons and text boxes and text fields and sliders and combo boxes and, you know, all of that stuff. But for now, yeah, for now I think this is enough. Yeah, okay. Wait, I can take that shadow out again. Okay, yeah, I think, yeah, I really need to go back to the drawing board and think things through again. I can give you some amount of preview on the rendering system. though, so that I don't end the stream all too early. So the deal is this. Right now, the rendering system is this, and that's it. Or, you know, this. And the idea is that your whatever kind of renderer you implement can decide exactly how everything is drawn. So potentially you can implement a renderer that has full control over how any kind of control is displayed. And that's fine. But for the majority of cases, you're going to want some kind of intermediary API that allows you to write default styles for components. And using that, you can then provide a renderer that will sort of, with minimal effort, display most UIs. And also implements components that'll work with most
Spaghetti.
backends or renderers. So that's kind of the idea behind this additional API that I want to implement. So the idea behind this additional API is to provide a minimal kind of drawing command set. This includes having a transform stack, so again having matrices represent transformations, this time only in 2D, so having a push and a pop for that, and having translate, scale, rotate, and shear, and then having also in addition having a clip command so that you can clip the rendering area to a specific subsection. Then certain parts that are required for the management of additional state. So aside from the allocate and deallocate and register things, you need to be able to request certain fonts to be loaded and request certain images so they can be displayed. So there's 2 additional calls there in order to load those kinds of resources in and have them ready for use. And then finally you have 2 sets of commands for drawing, one of them for defining the current style of what's being drawn, and the other for actually performing draw commands. So the style would say like what kind of color are you using, line width, whether you're drawing lines or filled shapes, what kind of compositing mode you're using. And again, for that I think it would be good to have a stack where you can have these properties be pushed and popped. And finally, the drawing API would allow you a very minimal set of things to do, so lines, rectangles, ellipses, and polygons, and text and images. And that should be enough for most things, or pretty much everything that's not going to be covered by the backend anyway. Or everything that doesn't need specific coverage through the backend. I have been thinking about gradients, but I think I'm going to leave that out, so only flat color shapes should be good enough for most things. Yeah, so that's the current idea of this API. You know, so though there's a bit of a problem also, you know, with the layouting stuff. What I'm currently thinking about is the question of how do sizing constraints propagate throughout the entire layout system. So, for instance, say you have a, I don't know, let's say you have a chat output, so a text field or text area essentially, where you can dynamically append new text. And so once you append new text, obviously the layout that's displaying that text should change to accommodate the new size. And this is also a thing where actually the container or the component that has the text in it has almost no information at all. It can't even contain information about line wrapping or anything, since that's also kind of layout dependent. Especially the width of the display text has to be layout dependent, so where things are wrapped in the text is dependent on the layout, so it needs to be cached in the layout entry somehow. And yeah, that's kind of the whole thing is giving me a bit of a headache. And I need some time to think this through clearly. And unfortunately, so far clarity has not yet come to me. Time. But yeah, once I've got this figured out, we should be good to go on actually implementing layout managers and things like that. And a rendering backend, so we can actually see some stuff, which I'll probably do before I get layout things, so we can actually see what's going on with the layouts. Yeah. Okay, well, this is gonna be another early stream end, because I don't know what else to do, and I don't want to do anything else in fear of just building me a pile of garbage. So, yeah. That's gonna have to be it for tonight. Hopefully, again, I'll have some better time thinking about things tomorrow, and I'll be able to actually walk you through the implementation in the evening. So, yeah. Alright, thanks again, everybody, for joining, and, yeah.
Good job.
Eh,
Thanks for stream.
see you tomorrow.